All right, so there's been some crazy announcements in the last 48 hours around OpenAI, Sam Altman, Microsoft, and just a bunch of crazy stuff. And it's just blowing up like crazy. So I thought I'd give my 2 cents. However, I don't necessarily want to repeat the news because that's not my game here. What I really want to talk about is sort of like how I see what's going on in the tech space right this minute and why I think Microsoft is winning this entire game. So with that, I'm going to show you some of the connections that I've made in the last week or so and some choices that I've made kind of internally about how I'm actually going about dealing with this AI revolution that's happening and why this is even a bigger move than people think. So let me back up a little bit just to give some context. So first of all, everybody that knows me has known that I've been a Microsoft fanboy for a really long time. So I'm gonna take away some of my biases for a little bit here. There's two things that's going on. Number one is there's obviously the AI race that's happening, and then secondly, Microsoft has made sort of a strategic deal with OpenAI, ChatGPT, if you will, and kind of owns the technology for the most part. And I'll show you why I think that is the case. However, OpenAI is still its own company doing its own thing, etc., and they've been kind of moving the needle in terms of the conversation across the board around OpenAI. So here's where it gets really interesting. I think, and I'll show you the evidence of this, I think that Microsoft has been secretly building out their own AI infrastructure. I'll show you the evidence for this in a sec, while utilizing ChatGPT, OpenAI foundation to accelerate their progress. And that's basically what I want to talk about in this video, so you could understand why personally I think that everybody that's dealing with artificial intelligence at this particular moment should be on the Microsoft bandwagon. I know I sound like a Microsoft fanboy here. I am, but I'm also giving you my a sort of a subjective opinion about why I think this move is such a important move. So, okay, with that, let's jump into sort of what really happened first, and then we'll backtrack a little bit. So let me back up a little bit. So I normally I don't cover this kind of stuff, or at least I don't really talk about this, but I'm gonna start doing more rants about these type of connections that I'm seeing in the industry altogether. So basically, Sam Altman, who is the CEO of OpenAI, he got kicked off the board. Now, I'm not going to speculate. I'm not that deep into this startup game to figure out why the board kicked him off and all this type of stuff. All I'll say personally is I think these boards are just they're idiots. Okay, they don't know what's going on. They think they know what's going on. They're playing a slightly different game. And again, I don't know any details. It might be that Sam Altman did something very, very stupid internally, and it was about to go public with OpenAI and yada yada yada. And so they decided, you know what, we don't want this kind of backlash, so we're going to kick you off the board. However, you're literally, this is the equivalent, how I would deem this. This is the equivalent of Steve Jobs, getting kicked out of Apple, right? It throws the entire company backwards. And sure, some of these leaders are controversial in their own way, but when you have this much of a momentum in a company, you don't just cut it like that. And for that reason, I think the board isn't. It's just they're just. I don't know these people personally, so I'm allowed to say that. I don't want you to use the word stupid, but because they're obviously smarter than I am, they're making more money and everything. But I just think it's an irrational decision. It's probably a better way to decide. So whatever that reason is, I don't know. Don't want to get into that details. All I know at this particular point, and we know, is that Sam Altman got kicked off the board, right? So that was on Friday, and then by Monday, Sam Altman has gotten hired by Microsoft. And there's a lot more complexity to this, and I don't know all the details. This guy could go out and raise a whole bunch of money and do a whole bunch of stuff. So I don't think he's like a W-2 employee in that traditional sense. But Microsoft will say, hey, go off and go build whatever the hell you want. We got your back. That's basically what it is. Like, as long as Microsoft can use the technology, we're game. Okay, so that's the general gist of what's going on. Okay, now here's the detailed part that I want to kind of get away from sort of the news and talk about sort of the technology and why I think that if you're building any single AI product or you're doing any sort of integration or building true solutions, you need to be on the Microsoft platform, at least for now, because frankly they're the clear leader in this space, and bar none at this particular point. Google has had this technology for a while. They've been sleeping on it, all right? And they're the ones that put out the original paper. But the truth is, they have been sleeping on this technology for a really long time. Microsoft has gotten an opportunity, and they're pushing the bars forward, and they have the tools to back it up. This is the important part. If you're a developer or a no-code developer or a really deep code developer, Microsoft has the tools to back this up, and that's why I think this is important. So with that, let me just explain a couple things. So I put out a video last week, and this video was about GPTs, okay? And I've been experimenting with chatgpts because I think they were good, and I mentioned that OpenAI had their dev day. I've been really excited. You saw Microsoft on stage with Satya, Nadella, and they were kind of doing their own thing, right? So Microsoft and OpenAI had this partnership going for a while. However, here's the interesting thing that I've always known internally that I'm verbally outlining right now. Microsoft would never bet on purely a startup and have all their eggs in one basket. Never. They've never been a company to do that, and they never will do that. They're gonna have their own thing. So they've aggressively gone after OpenAI, and they've merged their alliances together to kind of get this technology moving forward, while at the exact same time they're building out their own infrastructure. And that's the part that I really want to talk about. So I spent the last week watching this guy Mark. Mark. I always mispronounce his name, Mark Rusovich. I can't pronounce his name. I won't try. But I spent the last week watching all of his videos and what they're doing in the industry altogether. And here's what's clear. This is the CTO of Microsoft, by the way. Very, very smart guy. You should go watch his videos if you're interested in this type of stuff. But here's what's happening at a high level. Okay, this guy is at the core working on data center and infrastructure. So this is a picture of their entire evolution of the data centers that they've been building. All of their newest data centers, if you see here, it says AI GPUs. Okay, so they've been aggressively building out their data center, the core underlying infrastructure for all of this AI stuff. And that's the part that I want to make sure that everybody is paying attention to, because they have ChatGPT runs on CosmoDB, which is, by the way, one of my favorite databases, period. Bar none. I would argue is the best database out there. I'm a little bit biased, okay? But CosmoDB is, so think of CosmoDB for the technical people as MongoDB. It's a competitor. In fact, there's a direct, if you had a MongoDB, you could just move your data to CosmoDB. It would work 100% the same. So CosmoDB is the underlying backend infrastructure. And what's going on is OpenAI, it runs on CosmoDB. And Microsoft has been monitoring CosmoDB to understand how they need to evolve their infrastructure in order to meet the high demand that artificial intelligence is putting on their servers. And they've done that. And they spent the last year doing this. So everybody thinks that, oh, Microsoft is just now jumping into this game. They're going to try and copy, take the OpenAI team, and then they're going to start, try to get this technology under their belt. They've already got this technology under their belt. They know what's going on because the infrastructure for OpenAI is running on Microsoft infrastructure. So with that, this is part of this the CTO's presentation here. And what they're building out right now is a layer that these are AI frameworks, right? That could run, and they've already built out a custom layer. In fact, GPT runs on this kernel. It's called Triton, and I'm not going to go into too much details here, but GPT is already running on this stuff right now. So it's not like Microsoft doesn't know what's going on. They've already built and done the back-end work to ensure that this technology can run properly and that GPT can innovate. So they already know the infrastructure works. So just bringing the team over to build on top of that infrastructure, they're already to get in the game, and now they have that in-house. They're going to be leaps and bounds above other people, right? That's now trying to build up this technology. And then they've done some, I won't go into all the details here, but they've done some architectural changes to ensure that their entire thing is capable of doing faster processing around the GPUs. With that, the two tools that I want to talk about quickly in this video here, because I'm kind of ranting a little bit, is this tool called Azure AI Studio, which was an announcement that they made at Microsoft Ignite. I haven't really talked about this here, but this is important because this tool sets the bar for what can be done with AI. This tool here really has some very depth features, and not only that, it's sitting on all of the AI tools that Microsoft has already had in the past. So because of that, you can do some very sophisticated stuff in this tool. Okay, so I'm putting that out there so that you understand that this is not, oh, ChatGPT team is now moving over to Microsoft and Microsoft is going to start getting their feet wet with this AI stuff. Microsoft is in this game. They've been monitoring this entire thing. They will never have their eggs in one basket, and they already knew that at some point this relationship with OpenAI is going to be severed. So the only single thing that's different here is that the board members, who again we will say they're irrational people at this particular point, they just accelerated this move that Microsoft is making. That's why you saw the CEO of OpenAI came out and just, I'm sorry, the CEO of Microsoft came out right away, put out a tweet, and it's like, hey, we're committed to the partnership with OpenAI because they got a 49% there, right? And now we've taken all that team and put it inside. So OpenAI continues to innovate. We got that technology. Our new team is getting ramped up. Great. Once they get ramped up, we're going to push things out. And Microsoft wins either which way. So at the end of the day, what matters here is you as an individual trying to build technology, your device, your technology, is where do you go, right? That's what matters here, right? Honestly, all of this moving of people and stuff like that, that's all politics. For me personally, I've been heavily investing in spending time in building and testing out Azure AI Studio, and in fact, I'm going to be putting out a lot more videos on this particular tool because I'm learning it right now, and I've seen the capability of it. It is a fantastic tool. It's sitting, you see here, you can do GPT, you can do GPT-4, you got the llama from Facebook. They're bringing in all of this in a centralized location that you can do some very advanced stuff in a very simplistic way, very similar to how you're doing this GPT type stuff that we talked about last week on my channel. So anyway, I'm kind of rambling a little bit. There's a no code version of that, which is, it used to be called Power Virtual Agent, that they've now renamed to Microsoft Copilot Studio. This is what I would consider like the Zapier of the AI version of their tool, of the more advanced Azure AI Studio. So in the coming weeks and months, I'm going to be doing a lot more videos between these tools because frankly, they're most advanced on the market at this particular point. The other tools are playing catch up to what Microsoft has been doing. And they have the infrastructure. So this is going to be an interesting play to see what really happened here and how we kind of move forward, with sort of like this fluid kind of thing that's going on around these tools. But here's what I know. The startup industry or the startup world, they've always, I've had this problem for like the last like 5-10 years that I've been in the startup when I talk about Microsoft. Microsoft they've always played the long game, always, and they're sort of this pie in the sky, very complex enterprise type company. But Satya Nadella is an extremely smart individual, and he's on the ground. He's on the ground because he came from the developer world, so he sees the moves from a developer standpoint, and he's like, for example, he just like this move that he made to get Sam Altman. This was him by himself that I'm sure pulled this off, obviously with a team of people. So that my point here is that if I was a startup and I'm placing my bets, all bets are on Microsoft. Sure, AWS is going to get there at some point, but frankly, like it's going to take a little time for them to get there. That's why they invested in Andromeda and yada 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 to kind of play, catch up. That's why Google is putting their money in there. Some of the guys from OpenAI went to Andromeda and started that company. So that's my rant. There's a lot of stuff going on here. I wanted to put this thought process out there because you know, I don't want to get hype up on the news cycle. What I care about is making sure that everybody understands that this was coming, and Microsoft is just basically just they're just putting their foot forward a little bit faster than they originally anticipated because of these, you know, irrational people on the board. Anyway, that's my time for today. If you want to know more videos about this, or sorry, if you want to hear more videos like this, let me know. I'm gonna start ranting a little bit more on this channel, but let me know if you're actually interested. Put some kind of comments in the channel, and or subscribe on this video, and yeah, it'll give me some feedback as to whether this is interesting or not. Thank you.